Every footballer has his role, one that allows him to utilize his qualities most effectively. But finding this role is not always an easy task, as at times coaches struggle to decide what to do with all the skills a player possesses. So this video is going to be about those who started their career playing some really unexpected roles. But before we go on with it, we'd like you to ask you a question. At times, outfield players have to put on gloves and play in goal as an emergency option should the goalkeeper get injured or sent off. So which one of these players never had to perform as a keeper? Harry Kane, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, John Terry, Dani Alves? Drop a comment if you think you know the answer and get ready for watching. Carles Puyol, goalkeeper. The Barcelona legend Carles Puyol is one who many young defenders would call a role model, though he started his football career playing a different position. He was playing for his local club Pobla de Segur, and his coach Alfonso Garreta later said that Carles could have a great career even if he had remained a goalkeeper. The reason why he was moved to an outfield position had nothing to do with his performance. It was his mother who insisted on that due to her son's health problems. There was even a game when Carles played the first half in goal and the second half as a striker, and scored a hat-trick while his team won 8-0. Time showed that Puyol was a born defender despite his height of 178 cm, as his game reading and tackling skills made it nearly impossible to beat him one-on-one. In 1996, he was enrolled in the Barcelona Academy, where he grew into a first-team player and later a captain. In 18 seasons for Barca, Carles won 3 Champions League trophies, 6 La Liga titles, and 2 Copa del Rey victories, while his 593 appearances made him the 6th best player in terms of games played for the club. Speaking of the national team, there were more than 100 games for Spain and 2 major trophies, Euro 2008 and the World Cup. There could have been one more in 2012 if it were not for the injury that kept Puyol away from the Spain squad. In the end, his health problems made him miss as many as 38 games in his final seasons as a player, and in the end, Carles Puyol retired at the age of 36. Fabinho, right back. The Brazilian, now considered one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League, was first noticed by big club scouts while playing for a different role. In the early 2010s, Fabinho left Brazil and joined Rio Ave, where he played as a right back. In 2012, he went to Real Madrid on loan to play mostly for the second team. He was given a chance by Jose Mourinho once. 14 minutes of a La Liga game was enough for Fabinho to make an assist, but Real Madrid still decided not to sign him on a permanent basis. They went for their academy product Dani Carvajal, while still having the experienced Alvaro Arbeloa to add depth to the squad. So the Brazilian was signed by Monaco instead, which ended up being the right move. Though first he still played as a right back, Leonardo Jardim moved him to midfield, and as a holding midfielder, Fabinho was a part of that very Monaco team that won Ligue 1 in 2017, in addition to their brilliant Champions League campaign, which ended at the semi-final stage. After that, despite his eye-catching performance, Fabinho remained at Monaco for one more year before joining Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp was also using Fabinho as a defensive midfielder, though at times the Brazilian would play as a centre-back, but that was more like a last resort option for Liverpool, even though Fabinho did well in defense too. Despite not having the best of starts at the new club, Fabinho managed to adapt to the Premier League and become a prime example of a holding midfielder, while winning all the possible trophies with Liverpool. Sofiane Amrabat, centre-back. The Moroccan Sofiane Amrabat was born and raised in the Netherlands. His coaches at the Utrecht Academy were scratching their hands at what to do with the youngster. He was fast and technically gifted, so he first played as a winger, just like his elder brother Nordin, known for playing for Watford and Malaga. When Sofiane joined Brugge, he was deemed not good enough to play in attack, but his defensive skills and commitment made the coaching staff move him to a centre-back position. Sofiane lacked quality in defense either, and the Brugge coaches were about to give up on him, but Verona and Ivan Juric came to rescue. The coach was incredibly eager to have that very centre-back in his squad despite his lack of promise and despite the board having doubts about the signing. After all the arguments we went through, we finally signed Amrabat, and that was what changed the course of the whole season. We quarreled and quarreled, but in the end the board understood what I needed and I was no longer a madman. Sofian's elder brother Nordin also had a role to play, as he recalled. Even when we were kids, I felt his strength in every challenge. Sofian uses his body well, he's fast and strong, and that was why he was used in every position on the pitch, and why it took him so long to find his best one. He would play as a centre-back while at Brugge, so he told Verona that he would join them only to play as a number 6. The holding midfielder role exposed Sofian's strength and helped his further improvement. Soon he was signed by Fiorentina, where he once again proved himself as a quality midfielder. A year ago, Tottenham was willing to sign Amrabat, but the deal fell through. At the World Cup in Qatar, Sofian became one of the biggest discoveries, as his spirit was one of the reasons for such an iconic campaign for Morocco. They managed to become the first ever African side to reach the semi-final. That obviously made the midfielder more desired, as now he's even more likely to change clubs in summer, even though we're yet to know his destination. Joshua Kimmich, centre-back. One of the best holding midfielders of our time wasn't always playing his primary role either. The Stuttgart Academy product Joshua Kimmich would play as a centre-back, despite his height of 177 cm, due to his incredible football intelligence. Joshua was performing well in different kinds of defensive formations, be it 2 or 3 at the back, but later was moved to the right, and the right back role was what he was playing at Bayern at first. Josep Guardiola, who was in charge at Bayern at the time, was delighted with Kimmich. Joshua has everything a quality player needs. He exploits the space well and possesses an incredible vision. He understands when to go forward and when to stay back. Though Guardiola left Bayern soon, it was him who helped Kimmich's development the most, so that Joshua made it into the first 11. The first conversation with Guardiola was this. I asked why they wanted to sign me and what they see in me. He showed me everything on the tactical map. It was amazing for me. He showed me some positions I could play that I didn't know I could play. In the end, Kimmich developed into an elite midfielder and has already won 7 Bundesliga titles, 3 German Cups and the Champions League. The Germany national team were in need of a quality right back at the World Cup, but the head coach Hansi Flick ultimately decided not to move Kimmich there, as it would have resulted in lack of quality in midfield. Thibaut Courtois, left back. As Thibaut admitted more than once, he wasn't always playing in goal. As a kid he was playing a left back role, but had to change his position later. I started as a left back, but because I liked to play volleyball, because I liked to dive and my reflexes were deemed good enough, my coaches once offered me a place in goal for an upcoming tournament, and I was named the best goalkeeper of that tournament. That was what pushed me to become a goalkeeper instead of a left back. And indeed, the tall Belgian was meant to play in goal. In 2011, at the age of 19, he was signed by Chelsea and then loaned out to Atletico Madrid. That 3-year loan spell showed the world that Thibaut was a world-class goalkeeper, as he won the Europa League, La Liga and Copa del Rey with Atletico. In 2014, Courtois made his return to Chelsea, where he won the Premier League and a couple of domestic cups before he left for Real Madrid in 2018. Though things weren't that great at the beginning of Thibaut Courtois' Real Madrid spell, he managed to overcome all the difficulties and show his high quality. Last year, he was awarded with the Yashin Trophy by France Football as the best goalkeeper of the year. The reason for that was mostly his fantastic Champions League performance throughout the campaign and in the final against Liverpool, as Courtois' saves helped the team win the trophy for the 14th time. Vincent Kompany, holding midfielder. The former Manchester City captain Vincent Kompany is known to be amongst the best Premier League defenders of all time, while in his prime. But before getting recognized as a world-class defender, he had to play in midfield. While at Anderlecht, Vincent was named the best young player in Belgium in 2004 and 2005. He later moved to Hamburg, where he still was playing in midfield, and his performance was good enough to get noticed by Manchester City 2 years later. The citizens wanted him as a defensive midfielder. and that was where he was playing at first. But after a couple of seasons, when Mark Hughes left and Roberto Mancini took over, the Italian manager moved Company to a centre-back position. And that was how one of the biggest discoveries in Premier League history was made. Man City soon became a big threat with the Belgian as a key figure in defense. All in all, Vincent had 11 seasons for City, and many players tend to consider him one of the all-time Premier League greatest. While at Manchester City, Kompany won 4 Premier League titles and 6 domestic cups. He became a head coach after he retired, and now his Burnley boys are on their way back to the Premier League, 13 points ahead of their competitors. Marcus Rashford, holding midfielder. The 25-year-old Englishman mostly plays as a centre-forward or as a winger, though back in his childhood years, Marcus was making his first steps in football as a defensive midfielder. Neil Ryan, his former coach at the Manchester United Academy, explained such a choice in quite a simple way. Marcus wanted to get the ball more. Though the coaching staff always saw him as a striker, Rashford had a couple of appearances as a midfielder, but in the end he realized that he wasn't meant to play in midfield. The Englishman had to deal with his lack of pace at some point that was damaging his confidence. However, his hard work on the training ground paid off as Marcus did become a quality striker, and his Manchester United debut was something to remember. It was a Europa League game versus Midtjylland, and Marcus, aged 19, scored a brace, and a couple of days later there was his Premier League debut, marked with another brace against Arsenal. As for now, the 25-year-old striker had made 341 appearances for United in all competitions, scored 117 goals and made 66 assists. There haven't been many trophies though, only a couple of domestic cups and the Europa League in 2017. This season has been marked with a drastic improvement under the new manager Erik ten Hag, as Marcus has already scored 14 Premier League goals, while he had scored 15 in 2 previous seasons combined. Gianluigi Buffon, attacking midfielder. The living legend Gigi Buffon is still playing for Parma in Serie B, despite being 45 years old. All the innumerous saves he made and all the trophies he won has made him one of the best goalkeepers to ever play football. However, Gigi's career could have gone a different way. As a kid, he started playing football as an attacking midfielder. Later, Gigi decided to change his position, inspired by the Cameroonian Espanyol keeper Thomas Nkomo. His son, Luis Thomas, was named after the very same keeper, as it was the Cameroonian that made Gianluigi change his midfielder role for goalkeeper's gloves. While at Parma, Buffon was considered one of the most promising keepers of his time, and that was the reason Juventus spent as much as €52,880,000 on him back in 2001. That was the biggest transfer deal for Juve and probably the best one ever. Gianluigi Buffon's 685 games for the Bianconeri make him second after Alessandro Del Piero in terms of appearances for the club. Gigi won 10 Serie A titles with Juventus and refused to leave the club even when they were demoted to Serie B as a result of Calciopoli. There were also 176 caps for the national team for Gigi, which still remains a record. The World Cup victory in 2006 was without a doubt the biggest achievement for Buffon, as his brilliant goalkeeping was essential for Squadra Azzurra and Marcello Lippi's triumph. David Alaba, left winger. The Austrian David Alaba made his first steps in football at Austria Vienna II, where he mostly played as a winger. After a short spell at Austria, David's talent was noticed by Bayern. After he changed clubs, he kept playing as a left winger for some time, but the number of quality players in attack made his coaching staff try Alaba as a left back. That decision was a prophetic one, as David's incredible progress made him a first-11 player in no time. But in 2013, Josep Guardiola took over. The new manager considered Alaba not fit for his system as a fullback. At the same time, Guardiola believed in Alaba's abilities as a centre-back, and that was how the Austrian was first introduced to the position he's currently playing while at Real Madrid. Though he still plays on the left from time to time as an emergency option, his primary position has been a centre-back since that time. David is a defender of great quality, good both at winning the ball back and reading the game, which allows him to be one step ahead of his opponents. That was the reason why Real Madrid signed him as a free agent in summer 2021. Alba's first season at Bernabeu proved that he was worth it, as Los Blancos won La Liga and the Champions League. Marc-André ter Stegen, striker. The Barca keeper would dream of becoming a striker and scoring loads of goals as a kid. As he said, "I started out as an outfield player and was playing as a striker. When I was 10 years old, my coach said that he didn't like the way I ran. It made me want to quit football. I had to decide if I would quit or keep playing, but as a keeper. But when I was playing in goal, my coach was pleased with my performance. I was alright and looked confident." Once ter Stegen established himself as a goalkeeper, his hard work made him one of the most promising ones. So in 2014, he was signed by Barcelona from Borussia Mönchengladbach for only 12 million euros. Now ter Stegen is in his 30s and he has made 359 appearances for Barca, 147 of which were clean sheets. Marc-André is among those goalkeepers who become fan favorites due to their ability to deny show goals with incredible saves. His footwork is what makes ter Stegen a perfect modern goalkeeper. However, despite all that, he has only made 30 appearances for Germany so far, and the reason for that is Manuel Neuer, the one the coaching staff seems to trust more. Speaking of the trophies he won, there were 4 La Liga titles, 5 Spanish Cups, and the Champions League. This season, ter Stegen is likely to add something to his trophy room, as Barca are on their way to yet another La Liga trophy. Nicolo Barella, right winger. The 26-year-old Italian is without a doubt one of the best Serie A midfielders. His career, however, started with a right winger role. Nicolo's height of 172 cm and his technique made his coaches consider him a promising winger. With time, however, Barella picked up some muscle and became more solid with and without the ball, which made the Cagliari coaches move him to midfield. The young player was later noticed by Inter, and in 2019 he was signed by the Nerazzurri. The new team and the new manager Antonio Conte were what Barella needed to keep improving and win trophies, the first Serie A title for Inter since 2010. Apart from his fighting spirit, Nicolo possesses great vision and first pass. These qualities may come in handy for any team, as Liverpool are believed to be after Barella, as they are about to rebuild their midfield line this summer. Inter, in their turn, won't be too eager to let their key player go, but should Barella move to England, he will most likely be a decent asset to Liverpool, as his playing style fits the Premier League football like a glove. Versatility is a most important quality for a modern footballer, as the tight schedule and injuries make a versatile player a true gem for any coach. It's always a great benefit for a team when a player is able to replace his teammate and play a different role. But is it a benefit for a player as well? That's a question. Difference: which one of these players could have done better if he had played a different position? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you soon.